So welcome to this tutorial in which I'm going to explain how to configure a Jenkins to work with GitLab and how to connect both things. We are also going to connect Jenkins with Docker, and we are going to use Skaffold from inside of Jenkins. So before going into more detail and explaining more, let's just go to see an schema to see more clear how everything is connected. So here you can see in this tutorial in my website, davidprat.com, you can access and just follow the tutorial. But in this case, for this video, we are going to explain it with more detail. So our scenario, we are going to have all this stuff from here. Basically, it's something in which some developers or a team of developers are going to be developing a React application with some Node.js APIs, and they are only going to be occupied making the development of the code. And at the moment that they have some modifications to be done, they are going to upload to GitLab their updates, just making a push in GitLab. The moment that GitLab contains some changes into the code, it is going to notice to Jenkins through a webhook. This webhook is basically a public address that Jenkins has, and GitLab uses to notify Jenkins that there's something new in GitLab. In this case, then, in our code that we will see, that is written in Groovy for Jenkins, is going to go and pull all these changes from GitLab. It's going to use a Skaffold to build these images, these React and Node.js images, and it is going to push these new images into the Docker registry or Docker Hub. Along with the images, there are going to be some resources from Kubernetes that are going to be changed. In this case, are the deployment of the pods that will point to these new images, and that's going to be then pushed into the same repository but in a different branch. For example, we can work with the main branch for the code changes, and then for in a production branch for the YAML file changes. In this case, we are going to avoid making some loops in the webhook by just specifying that we only want Jenkins to be looking at the main branch, and we only want ArgoCD to look at the production branch. So at the moment that there's some change in the production branch, ArgoCD is going to take care about making the deployment of those new resources into the K3s cluster in this case. So here we are going to go through the steps of the tutorial. The first of the things is to install Jenkins. In this case, we are using an Ubuntu server, an LTS version. Here you have the commands about installing Jenkins. This will install Jenkins as a service, just for your information. And once the installation is done, you just have to go to the Jenkins dashboard. You are going to access to Jenkins through the IP of this Ubuntu server in the 8080 port, which is the default port of Jenkins. From here, you are going to configure the Jenkins and GitLab connection. This is done here through user and password authentication, as well and with a SSH key. For the SSH key, you can see how to configure it on the site of GitLab, like this. And these authentications are going to be used in the code of the pipeline of Jenkins, as we are going to see in the next steps. You're also going to configure the Docker connection. For this, you can go through these steps. You can see how we have to add Jenkins into the Docker group. So this one, the Jenkins then can use the Docker to, for example, to make the login and so on. And then we also have to install some plugins to make it work. In this case, the GitLab plugin, some Docker plugins, and then the SSH agent. The SSH agent will just allow the automation in some of the Git commands, as we can see then in the code of the Jenkins pipeline. Then you are going to edit a new item, which is going to be a pipeline. And you are going to copy, paste this paste that I have shared with you here in the website, and you are going to start to paste it here in the Jenkins file. This is going to make much easier to make the test and to make any modifications you want. At the moment that you have everything set up there, you can just test the pipeline with build now button. It should be in green like this. And once it is working, then you can just pass this code from the Jenkins textbook to the same repository. You can just create a Jenkins file and copy paste that code. And then you are going to select, instead of the textbook, that you want to import the code from a Git repository. You just put the GitLab address and the credentials that we already have configured, and you then test again that it is working well from the GitLab repository. Once this is ready, you are going to make the configuration of the webhook. Remember that the webhook is the address that Jenkins is publishing on the internet. So then GitLab will be able to use this address and to notify Jenkins that there's something new in Jenkins. Please go through these steps also from the tutorial. You're going to see that here we are using a personal access token, and then that you have to publish the address that you see here, and then you have to copy this address to GitLab. You are only going to need this push events checkbox, and then you are also going to use this secret token that is for the authorization in between GitLab and Jenkins. Here you can see the site of the GitLab, how it is done. In this case, you can notice here there's a little difference in the port, and it is because my ISP was blocking the port 8080, because it is a very common port, and they don't want the hackers to listen to this port. And I just use the 9099 port. And I also use a DIN DNS to avoid connectivity issues once the ISP changes or rotates my public IP. Remember that the server, in this case, it was working in my local area network, and GitLab is on the internet. So these things have to be taken into account. To make the change in the Jenkins port, in case you need it, you have here the instructions. Remember that the way we install the Jenkins, it is running as a service, so you have to go through these steps. And until here, you will have everything configured, and you only need to make the test. In this case, we can go here and just make a little modification into the pipeline, just adding some spaces. Then we are going to push the changes. So git add dot to add the changes. Git commit, please subscribe as a message. So now it is seriously, or please subscribe to the channel so I can make more of this stuff. And then git push. The moment that you make the git push, you can go to the Jenkins dashboard, and inside of the pipeline, you will see that there's some job that is starting automatically without doing anything. This means that the webhook is working well. You can check the history also from GitLab. And in this case, you will see that there's some initial stage in which a Docker image is allocated, and there's the connection with the versioning system, which is the GitLab in this case. And then we also have the build and checkout stage. We only have this stage for this purpose. And in this case, it has done the build very fast because we haven't changed anything in the React code. We only have changed the pipeline. And therefore, everything has been very fast. So until here, we have gone through all the tutorial. Yes, I think it has been a bit longer this time, but I hope everything has been clean in this way. So please test this in your home or in your environment. And if there's some doubt or anything that is not working in your case, please leave the comments here in the chat, and I will try to answer them. So take care and see you soon here. Bye bye.